Alright, cool. So Handel. Motherfucker.
Another video.
I'm laughing already.
Another video.
I'm already laughing.
Another day.
Alright, so I saw the Bitcoin graphs recently.
Yeah.
So it went from 64k in April down to 29k for next 3 months.
That's right.
In intervals, 1 month intervals.
Yeah.
So, and then we're back up to 52k.
Yeah.
And now it's at around 42k right now.
Yeah.
So what's happening in Bitcoin right now? Where's it heading?
Yeah, right. So basically the 52K, I'm going to talk about that 52K region because that was a pretty important region right there. So if we actually look at the charts there, we actually have seen a massive head and shoulders pattern right here. Boom, boom. Shoulder, 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 head, shoulder, like this. And if you actually join the lines from the neckline itself, then boom, it cannot be any more accurate than that, really. We call that the revisiting of the crime scene, I guess. So that's where people wanted to see that happen. And the reason why the price started falling out from there is because a lot of the people who actually got in at these regions, thinking that it was going to reverse or go up or whatever, have actually been holding, right? And they have just cracked above their previous sort of investment. So they made a little bit of money. They're cutting their losses. Well, they're cutting their wins pretty short and they're getting out. So a lot of those sell pressure has been built up since then and it's falling down. So I am actually near term very bearish but long term extremely bullish. And another thing about this region here, the reason why the charts actually made the prices fall, this is when that like El Salvador came in. We've had that news with the Evergrande, and it actually came in a bit after. In between, we also had the Litecoin and the Walmart craze, which was just fake news, and that just that created a lot of volatility in the market as well. What I like to think that is the charts actually speak ahead of the news itself. So technical analysis is still very much valid for Bitcoin trading. And so if you look at the charts here, I suspect that the next region for testing will be around about that $40,000 mark, which is this pretty strong resistance and support line that we see here, like so. That $40,000 mark, and we've already tested that region, so we've come up above it. I do sense a extremely short-term trend line forming here, like so, this being on the daily chart, that if some of the more adventurous people out there would like to get into a trade for short from here with obviously some small tight stop losses, they may want to do that. Obviously this is the support to break, and once that support breaks, then we'll be looking at that $37,000 mark, which is the support line as formed by this support, as we see right here in the rally that we've seen since July. If that support breaks, then we would obviously be going to that $30,000 mark right here, where we have seen a lot of that purchasing behavior as well from the whales and also the little people alike. And obviously the next outlook is we are seeing as low as that $19,000 mark. We're seeing these levels here act as another support line. So we may see it go as low as that.
Can you go back to the head and shoulders pattern and how it works and how it dropped down to 30k and then back up to 52k?
Yeah, I will explain to you the first part, because that's scary, and that's part of the reason why I like technical analysis so much. See this line right here, right? So see this line right here, which is from the top of the head, right, to the actual neckline itself. See that line there? That line there is exactly how much it fell by. Look at that, from the break of that trend line to that very low price that we've seen right there. See, that's how we know that that's actually has bottomed out. I look at stuff like that and I start frothing, because that is truly the beauty of technical analysis right there. So that's what happens. And then what we also want to see is that neckline, right? The neckline of the head and shoulders pattern. This is the shoulder here. This is a head here, like a big head. And then this is like another shoulder here. So the neckline is forming, at these levels here. Starting from here, we also can supplicate that from the max that we have seen here before as well, and that's the neckline that has been broken down. Okay, we extend that neckline all the way through, then we are able to see that the 52k maximum that we were able to see in the previous, that was justified by hitting that neckline and then falling back down again. So that's basically how we utilize head and shoulders pattern to impact our trades into the future.
But what's Evergrande? I always hear about it. Isn't that just a property company in China? What does Evergrande have to do with crypto?
Yeah, great question. So if we just do a quick Google search, we're seeing time and time again that Evergrande fails to pay $180 million in interest in debt. Goldman flags 8.2 trillion threat, worse than China. Evergrande, that's actually gone on to Evergrande, but basically Evergrande keeps reporting that it's basically not paying up its debt. It's a Chinese property development company that's got a lot of debt and is struggling to pay for it. That's basically what's going on right now. So then what does it have to do with anything right now? So Evergrande has $3 billion in debt, and it's struggling to pay that. What we see in the market is that we all know that stocks and commodities and everything in between are all just tied together. And that's the same with crypto. What people are doing is they're trying to get out of the fiat money. The currency is the dollar, right? So that they can diversify out of that. And the reason why they do this is because they look at the dollar and going, okay, this is inflationary. We're gonna lose all our money. So it's better to put it into investments like property, stocks, where there's going to be some yield that comes from it, and there's also going to be capital growth that comes from it as well. And that's part of the reason why cryptocurrency has been so booming in the past as well. Because the more money comes out, the more money people want to start doing it. So rather than money being lost through inflation sitting in your bank account, it's better that then you use that to then invest into things. And that's what people have been doing. We look at also things like leverage on a lot of these exchanges, Binance, Bybit, all those guys are offering leverages. People see like 4-to-1 leverage, 5-to-1 leverage, but we also see up to crazy things, 125 times leverage, which means with $1, you can activate a $125 position. With $1 million, you can activate a $125 million position, which is freaking crazy. So there's a lot of money being held out there right now. The fact that Evergrande can't pay their debts, that's basically what's called a deleveraging process. When you deleverage in China, then people then get scared and they start putting their money out, okay? And that's the impact that it's gonna have onto like I said, the stocks, the commodities, and of course, the same thing into the crypto. So it's gonna scare people and they're gonna be pulling their positions out. The margin calls are gonna come in and it's just basically gonna continue to snowball. And there's gonna be a tie-on effect with the stocks, the commodities, and of course, into the crypto. That's why Evergrande will have an impact, and how well it's gonna behave or whether it's gonna be able to pay their debts is gonna have a big impact onto the cryptocurrency market.
So are you saying that because Evergrande has a lot of debt and it's deleveraging, that's gonna affect the property market or the stock market and everything like that?
Well, it has a strong potential to it because everything is on emotions. When that happens, like I said, people are going to be then seeing that the deleveraging event from this very, very strong, big company is going to then, it's going to have a lead-on effect onto other markets as well.
All right, so then long term, what do you actually think is going to happen to Bitcoin like 5 years, something like that?
So obviously in the near term, I'm expecting it to be a little bit bearish, but in the next 5 years, I think it could go up to about $100,000. In the next 10 years, even up to $500,000. Right now, we're obviously looking at the NFT craze. I think it has a bit more room to go. People still love it very, very much, but I think it's got to wash out at some point. It's kind of like the safe haven. People look at Bitcoin and go, it's been dumping a little bit. Well, we want to find alternative ways to make money, so NFT is going to be a little bit crazier in that sense. I think even if NFT drops to like nothing in 5 years time, when Bitcoin goes up again, then it's going to start snowballing again. We're still at very, very early days at this moment, but I am near-term bearish, but I'm extremely bullish in the long terms. And investing into alts, it's kind of like the dot-com bubble. So a lot of people got into it because it was something new and sexy and interesting. Same thing with alts. A lot of the alts that we see right now isn't probably gonna last very long. So going long on alts for a really, really long period of time can be risky in that some of these altcoins won't even exist in the long term. But the general move for cryptocurrency, right, is that they're gonna be looking at moving away from the fiats, where there's gonna be arbitrary printing of money from the government. There's control over it. So people are gonna generally stay away from that, be looking at ways of investing, and therefore crypto is going to have a general uptrend. So that's my overall outlook for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in general.
So Hando, we've seen the last year that Bitcoin went from 10K to 50K in less than a year.
Yeah.
So you're saying this is the end of the bull run right now?
Yeah, so a lot of people ask me, well, Bitcoin is rallying here, and why can't we expect the same thing moving forward? And why is it going to be the bear run? And when is it a bull run? When is it a bear run? I am asked that question all the freaking time. So what we like to look at is previous cycles. So yeah, right now we're looking at the 2013 cycle, 2014 cycle. We've had the all-time high sitting at $1,100 like here, and it's dipped down to that $550 mark, and then it's gone up to that $970 mark, and then it had gone as low as that $400 mark. And in fact, it actually keeps going further lower down to this level here. Imagine this was our $64,000 mark here, and that was your $30,000 mark as we see in 2021. And then over here, that was your 52K mark. We're kind of following the same sort of trajectory here. That could be the new 52K, or that could be the new 30K, but it does dip pretty hard after a long term. And if we do zoom out a bit, it does actually go a bit much lower. And it's arguable that's 52K instead. So in 2014, we actually have seen it dip as low as that. And if we look at the all-time highs and how much it has gone down from the top to the very bottom that it had, we're looking at that almost the 86% retracement from the top. So that happened in 2014, okay? Now what we're gonna look at is the chart for 2017, another wonderful bullish run that we're seeing right here. So we're looking at this as and that does really put it into perspective, doesn't it? That's 2014, all the charts look so flat. Another peaking cycle that we have seen here. We've had the maximum here sitting at around that $20,000 mark, and we had the sort of in the near term minimum sort of here, which was that $6,000 mark, which was a pretty big dip, and then it has gone up to that that level at $11,000 mark, but we have seen it go as low as $2,900, which if we do the trace of how much it has retraced, we look at that similar number around that 85% mark, which has retraced from the top to the bottom of the market. So if we see that same trend occur, then we are also looking at 2021, then we may also see that a similar thing occur where from the top to the bottom, if we see that 80% retracement, which is around about here, we might be going as low as that $12,000 mark right here. 12,000, 15K, 60K, between 12 and basically 20K is the region that we can see Bitcoin go as low as, which is, I know it's quite ridiculous, but if history is any indication, we do have room for a low of that extremity. So now what we're doing is we're looking at these bull cycles that happened literally once in 2014, another time in 2017, and another time in 2021. So you can see that they're about 4 years apart. Some people say that bull cycles are extending as well, but they're about 4 cycles apart. And that's the reason why then I have the outlook that the next all-time high that we're gonna beat above that 64K is gonna happen in the next 5 years. And then the next one after that is gonna happen in another 5 years or 4 to 5 years after that, which, you know, where I potentially see Bitcoin go all the way up to $500,000.
All right, so you're making all these insane claims that Bitcoin's going to go down to 12 to 20K. Yeah. But what do you say to all the hodlers that don't think it's going to go down anymore? Because all the cryptos are pretty accessible now. You can download an app on your phone and you can literally buy crypto just like that. You buy wallets and everything. There's also institutional money are pumping millions and millions of dollars into cryptos. There's countries buying cryptos. So why, even after I say all that, do you think crypto is going to go down to as low as 12 to 20K?
Oh, great question. Okay, so there's nothing that I hold against Bitcoin rallying. Okay, I'm a long-term, very, very bullish on Bitcoin. I do see the exit out of the fiat into these currencies where there's going to be less control, less centralization, and it is geared towards an absolute amount of growth. But I am near-term very, very bearish. And what I look at is the charts, because the charts actually tell emotion, right? Emotion will drive the price for Bitcoin up, right? And then it is the fear that's going to drive the price down. Right now, I see a lot more fear in Bitcoin at the moment, you know, believe it or not. And then it's actually ahead of any news that comes out too. And just in the example that I just gave you, where it's the chart that behaves first and then the news that behave afterwards, everything else around the chart is actually just noise. It's just based on the emotions of the people that are trading that are gonna be then impacting the price of Bitcoin. So let's say Bitcoin then blasts out of the previous all-time high at $64,800, and it goes up to that 65K. If it blasts above 65K because it has beaten what it was before, people are gonna see that it has massive potential beyond what it used to be before, and it wouldn't be, you know, any longer than months before we see 100K Bitcoin after that.
So let's say when it goes up to 65K, you said it's going to go up to 100K, but what if it goes back down to 20K?
So as the reason why I look at 65K is that because at the 65K zone, there's what's called a lot of short covering. So there'll be a lot of institutional money where they put their stop loss on that 65K. All the short positions are basically going to be exiting at that 65K because people will look at that and go, you know what, it's already broken above the resistance beforehand. So now the price is going to blast out. That means a lot of the short positions are going to exit out because it has hit that stop loss right there. So that's called short covering right there. So if the short covering then goes, then there's going to be a disproportionately larger amounts of longs in the market. And once it hits that level, then and people expect it to go to the 100K, people are going to then start jumping into place more buy orders at that level. So this means that a lot of institutionals are going to be throwing money into the Bitcoin market, the cryptocurrency market. And there's also going to be a huge move away from the fiat, the dollar, right, into this, because people are going to realize that the fiat is unstable. It could go down in value because of inflation and what have you, and they're going to be jumping into this. So that's why there's almost no chance that it will probably drop, after it breaks the all-time high. If it was going to drop back down, it would probably do that without having to actually crack above the previous all-time high.
All right, so what should we do now? So do we have a 1 year horizon? Should we just sell everything now and just wait 1 year?
Yeah, sure. So I personally hold a lot of cash out of cryptos at the moment, as I'm looking for a better entry point. There is actually too much liquidity in the market right now, even in the stocks and also in the crypto market as well. That will have to wash out sooner or later. And when that happens, there's going to be a big dump in the price as well. My philosophy is that you always need to buy right rather than try to sell right, or because even if you sold all right, at the all-time high, it all depends how much you actually bought it for. That determines your actual yield, right? Whether it's 30% gain or whether it's 30 times gain, right? So you want to make sure that you buy at the right times, and to actually ensure that you're buying at the right times, then you want to make sure that the price is right. Okay, and yeah, in the near term, I do expect the prices to fall, and when that happens, then I'm going to be then entering into. So between $30,000 to $40,000 region is pretty good for you to start nibbling away. I wouldn't put all my life savings into it, but when it hits that $20,000 region, that's when I'm going to be, be quite aggressive in buying it up. And you know what? When that time comes, people are going to call me crazy then, saying that Bitcoin is over. Everyone's just packing up and going home. Why are you investing into this thing now? But those are the times that we'll do it, and those are the times that I'll be looking at opportunities in altcoins that I think have a good good longevity because of its use case. And that way I can actually amplify my gains, because if Bitcoin and all the altcoins actually move in sort of tandem with each other with a bit of correlation, then all the altcoins that I will be investing in a bear market will probably do well as they experience the next parabolic move.
So you said the altcoin trend is altcoin bubble is kind of like the dot-com bubble. With the dot-com bubble, only about two dot-com companies lasted. What couple of altcoins will last through the burst of the altcoin bubble?
Yeah, sure. So I actually don't know. I would have to look at the use cases, and and even some of the solid good use cases, they don't always last, right? So some of the things you just have no idea what you're going to do. That's why I would probably hold altcoins only throughout the actual bullish cycle, right? Or even go into altcoins, pre-launch. That's a strategy that I will have. If you identify an altcoin and you want to hold it for like 10 years, well, that's all well and good. You just have to make sure that it will survive the 10 years. But we don't know what's actually going to happen in that 10 years that could make or break the success of that altcoin in itself. So there is a fair bit of risk in there, but that's part of the fun. That's why I always tell people to diversify if you're going to then go into altcoins. That's why I say I look at Bitcoin. If the price is good, then I buy multiple altcoins so that I do not, I'm not left with one altcoin and then it was doing so well at some point and then it just completely goes bust. So that's how I would safeguard myself against altcoins and focus really hard on the use case so that it has longevity into the future. And that's where really the research ability of a trader becomes really important, so that they can actually get behind projects that has good longevity. Thank you so much for tuning in today, guys. I hope you learned something today. If you like the video, make sure you go like, share, subscribe, ring the notification, do all that good stuff. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.